What's going on, y'all? It's J Small Reviews here, back at it again with another video. Bringing you guys today a final piece of GNOME content ahead of the event. This is going to be my last piece of preparatory, if that is a word, GNOME content for GNOME 14. I've done tons of videos doing predictions, who has the most pressure, a little bit of history. So I figured, let me do one more video going after what is the star matchup, the main event, and that is Loaded Lux versus Nitty. We talked about it so much in detail, but I thought one last video going over the keys to victory would be good here. And I've kind of given some of these away throughout the predictions, but this is going to be fully for each side, the approaches that I think, or at least the advantages they could use to specifically, you know what I'm saying, how they are going to win the battle. Of course, I am not a battler, right? So me talking approaches, what they should or shouldn't do, they could do something completely different to win the battle for all I know. I could be wrong, but from the patterns I've seen, watching both of them avidly for a little bit over a decade now, I think I know what could be emphasized on each side, or, what I think they should emphasize to give themselves the best chance in the battle. But we're going to start out with what I think Loaded Lux could do to pull out the victory, and then, of course, the advantages I think Nitty could utilize to get the victory of his own. So I'm not here to take up too much of your time today. 3 of the keys to victory on each side. And as I said, we're starting with Lux. First off, punch with them, but to an extent. What do I mean by that? We know the bar-for-bar emphasis on this battle. It's a God-tier battle, but instead of the usual Lux battle or God-tier battle where it's a combo, a grudge, a dialogue, right? This is based on the pure skill. People want this for the writing. Both have talked about it, and I think the most telling is Lux saying, oh, y'all want Pop Lux back, which for those that don't know, before he was battling on cam, when he was just hungry and coming up, that was that bar-for-bar Lux, right, in the beginning, that old New York legends referred to. I believe Uncasa said it, like back when he was Pop Lux, right? Some people didn't even know that used to be his name. So we're expecting Lux to bring more of the rapid-fire punching that, Midwest Miles type of performance that he had earlier in his career that built the legend. But just 2 things. One, if you only punch, that's not the way to go, right? If you just try to go bar for bar the whole battle, because you're playing directly into Nitty's strength. He wants this to be an only bar for bar battle because that's where he's going to be at his best. No one's really matched him when it's just that pure creativity line for line. However, but you also don't want to only punch because you're taking away from your strengths. We know Lux is an angler elite. Nitty underdeveloped in that region of his game, or at least probably isn't just going to, he's just not an angler type battler. Might punch on an angler too, which we'll talk about in a little bit, right? But you don't want to take away your strengths and play only into your opponent's strengths. That in any sport, that would seem like the silly thing to do. But I would say for a majority of the battle, tough to put a percent. I'm not going to like 60, 70%, but enough to prove to people you are going to have to bar with him for a little bit, because people want to see you are the original pen, but can you still reach the level that Nitty's been able to set now, creativity-wise, bar-for-bar-wise? There just has to be enough done. I'm sure that Lux will do other things, which is what I'm expecting him to do, and he should do, but a good majority has to show, hey, I can match you here with these creative lines. You think you're the most creative, you're the only one that can think at this level. I can match you here in terms of power, haymakers, the little in-between writing, and I think that's a key to his victory, is at least showing that he can compete in that realm with Nitty. And then that leads into the second part. We talked about all-around game, fresh angles. Nitty's seen a litany of angles, and I'm sure that Lux will have some version downplaying his style, saying he's only a puncher, his lack of star power compared to his peers like a Rocker, a Geechee. There's a few different things like that to attack, but people have done it before. I mean, we're going back to Iron Solomon's Scantron scheme in the second. Doesn't mean not to do the angle, but there has to be a fresh twist, because if you come in with the face value, oh, he doesn't do YouTube views, oh, he's just a puncher, and we don't know how receptive that'll be, especially a battle that, all right, you could say he's just a puncher or whatever, but we want this battle to see you go bar for bar. Now, with angles, sometimes you got to give people something they didn't know that they needed. It's a big part of angling. A lot of people would tell you angles are stupid until they're executed to perfection, and then they're not so stupid anymore. But being that Nitty has faced a million of somewhat the same angles, I expect Lux to be creative with it, but he's also going to need to be creative with it if he gets into that kind of breakdown bag. And of course, Nitty being a puncher, it's not as prevalent as it was early in his career, but naturally, if you angle, you can kind of take the attention away from a straight bar-for-bar approach if executed correctly, and Lux has the ability to do that. He's done that before, so a good, fresh angle here, even in a bar-for-bar battle, could still show some separation versus Nitty. And then that leaves you with my last key to victory here for Lux, and that is show the difference in rapping ability. This has nothing to do with the references crafted, the wordplay crafted, has mostly to do with like syllable structure, right? We're talking about just the rapping portion, the cadence, you know what I'm saying? Your raps. And that is the biggest advantage that Lux has in this battle. He is calling him a one-of-one rapper really wouldn't do him enough justice. As much credit as he gets for the pen, in terms of maybe scheming, the references and stuff like that, which he is a pioneer in, I've always thought his greatest advantage over any opponent is just like how the actual rapping sounds. And of course, this is the reason people want the matchup, but that's a big reason that Daylight gets so much credit that he does. Of course, scheme-wise, he can do all these crazy things with the words, but the way that he's able to just fluidly rap it through extremely dense multi-syllabic layered writing structure, like these are the things that Lux, to me, that is the biggest difference, is angling and rapping ability. And Nitty has always been a really good rapper and has really gotten better, I think, even as the years have went on, but it's just not the same in terms of, like I said, that multi-syllabic structure and just kind of like that when you're in awe listening to someone rap. And the best way I can refer to it is Daylight's rounds versus rock, and Lux has the ability to tap into that. Typically, another thing that Nitty has kind of struggled with in his career is just like the purest of pure rapping. Reed Dollars, although there was content in there, really the flow I thought was a big difference in that battle. B-Dot, in terms of pure rapping, similar matchup too. We know the Lux and Dot comparisons, rap circles around him. So these are a couple of things. Angling and just purely rapping have given Nitty some issues in a career where he hasn't given too many issues. Have given him some clear losses before, happens to be things that Lux is really good at. So if there is some fresh angles and they're rapped to absolute perfection, and he's giving you some of those haymakers and punches in between for the new generation, I think that could give the all-around performance, especially all emphasized in a small room, that Loaded Lux would need to win this battle. And as for Nitty's side of the battle, which will even go quicker, right? Because he is the odds-on favorite, right? A lot of people rooting for him think that he's going to win it clear. So I think maybe what people think he's going to use to his advantage, a little easier to spot. In the first one, maximum aggression, which should already be a given, right? Your biggest battle yet. You should have the most energy in your delivery, the most passion, be on your opponent, like really trying to win. But particularly with this, you are facing Lux. Lux is fantastic. He's a legend, but he's still a pen at the end of the day. And pens struggle a bit with aggression. We've seen it with JC. We've seen it with Chilla. We've even seen it with Daylight. Now, of course, you could argue you think Lux is worse than a couple, better than all of them, right? But they all sit in that same type of style. And we've seen aggression work on Lux. Geechee Gotti versus Lux barked on him. Big part of why he was able to win that battle, kind of talking shit to his posse. And I don't want to say little boying him to an extent, but it's kind of the route that he took. Arsenal versus Lux, which I think gets swept under the rug. It's not that good of a battle, but I think that's the most I've ever seen Lux like made look fully like a pen. Usually there's an element of stage presence, right? We talked about the angling just now. I think he's more of an all-around battler than he's given credit for. But when he battled Arsenal was really barking on him. I mean, super OD aggressive. It kind of did make the optics kind of push Lux into only a bar-for-bar type of view, while Arsenal was kind of doing everything else, and for a big reason for me and for many others, why I have Arsenal winning that battle. I don't think that Nitty's going to, take that whole entire route there, but get in his face, right? Get up close to him. And there needs to be that constant hunger, like a 2016 Nitty when he was just first rising the URL ranks, and every battle was rapid fire, in your face, borderline bad sportsmanship, because he was just getting after his opponent like that. Got to bring that to this. This is your biggest matchup yet. Second key to victory. We talked about fresh angles for Lux. For Nitty, it's don't angle, but angle punch. If there's one part of Nitty's game that you could just say is not good, it's angling. When he has angled, which is rare, you could point, I guess, his first verse T-Top. He had like 8 bars about when T-Top, T-Top selling his mother drugs. Common angle used against T-Top. Executed it pretty well. But what do people remember when they think of Nitty angling? His third versus Tay-Rock, we just talked about in his known battle record. Half of the round angling about Hustle, Fred, horrendous worst round of his career. His first round versus Hollow, the You Called the Police angle, he did land some good bars out of it, but I think it cost him the first too much time, like slow burn, but too slow of a burn, empty space. It's just not the man's strength. However, in recent battles, recent years, angle punching, you just see it more and more where I don't got to talk half around about this or work the... I'm going to take 4 to 6 bars. I'm going to use my punching ability and wordplay. I'm going to tap into the situation real quick. Like I said, 4 to 6, get a great punch off, and then move on to the next one, right? Next topic, or just get right back into regularly punching, name flipping. I think angle punching here would be big because they want to see you talk about Lux. I mean, you can't just only punch. That goes for both sides. It goes for the one that doesn't want to play into Nitty's strengths, and that goes for Nitty not just sticking so much by his guns that he doesn't show the growth that he's had as a battler and all these other things he's been doing elite. I think that you could jump into like 8 to 10 different topics in one round, right? When you're angle punching, and that way you're matching the substance, you're being just as tailored, but you're not doing this overly long 3-minute segment that's really not landing you a lot of points, while Lux is probably going to push the pace like you usually do in this battle. So I don't want to see no half round angle. Fuck no, definitely don't want to see no full round angle, right? But I want to see you touch through the topics throughout to keep it tailored at Lux. And that leaves you with the number one key to victory here, and ironically kind of said something like this before, but mainly stick to your guns and win the Haymaker War. Stick to your guns. Listen, we're talking about one of the best gun bar rappers of all time. Him and Rock are right up there. We know what he's built his career off. Some of the best quotables of all time that happen to be gun bars because Nitty is just that creative, right? So, you don't want to do what, and I hate to use this example, it's the most famous one used, but what JC did against Surf. He got to the battle that he kind of worked up to, right? SM main event, he went full angle. It's like he left the pennant home, and he didn't use his strength. It was horrible for him, that battle, right? Did not work. We know how that battle went. You did not punch everyone's head off with all these gun bars to get here and then not continue to punch people's heads off with the gun bars. I expect a majority, I'm talking like maybe 80-90% of this to still be classic punching, getting after you Nitty. And with that, you got to win the Haymaker War, which is what Nitty does to win a lot of battles. I just feel like he ends up walking away with, if there's the 5 best bars of the battle, a lot of people would say 3 or 4 of the bars would be Nitty's. And at the end of the day, people are going to remember the peaks of a battle more than anything. And if Nitty's able to have those moments where he's saying the best shit of the battle, or people are like, man, I really feel like the most creative, and they just keep quoting Nitty bars from this battle, that's going to just do great for the optics afterwards. Being that you're the puncher, it is kind of quicker for punchers to get to that Haymaker ability. You start chaining Haymakers together, and while Lux is writing, he's going to have some very densely written shit. If he's very in between and it's all rewind and fine, but you're using wordplay just as well with bigger landings, that's how the man's won battles his whole career. And of course, why would he not use what's won him 90% of his battles to use over here and win the biggest battle of his career? So like we said, maximum aggression, got to be all up in his face. You don't want to angle too much, but you're going to have to punch off of some topics, jump in and out and attack his character. And then of course, stick to what's gotten you here and punch for a majority of this battle. That is it here, my keys to victory, kind of my full thoughts here. And I'd love to hear your guys' opinion on how you see the battle going down, not in terms of just who you have winning. I've asked that before, but what approaches do you think? What do you think is the separating factor for each battler here? We're getting really into the X's and O's, right? Because when you talk about guys at this level, even though it's pen versus pen heavy, there is a chess match that goes down in a God tier match. It goes down every time. You see guys try new things, but also have their biggest moments doing what they do best. I think Rock and Hollow is a great example of that. Rock did a couple things different, right? A little bit of comedy, a little more tailored than usual, but still you got his second round, and with the peaks that came with, the Ariana Grande bar in the first, I always thought that was one of the greatest examples of someone reaching a God tier plate and doing exactly what they're supposed to do. And I think you could see that from Nitty here, where you get 80 to 90% of what we love him for, but maybe 20 to 30% of just enough different shit to kind of appease those fans that say he doesn't have substance of some sort. And then obviously, as for Lux, it's not that he has to prove anything that he hasn't before, but it's just showing people he still has bags to jump into. Can he still have some of the most creative and unheard of angles, fresh angles, and kind of break a guy down like we haven't seen before? Or can he jump back into that puncher's bag and really match Nitty bar for bar? I just see it going almost a few different ways that it could go. Just want to see what you guys have to say about it. But like I said, last NOME video here. Would love to hear your guys' opinions on the battle, how it's going to go, specifically what they're going to do. I just can't wait to cover NOME 14, man. But it's been J Smo Reviews again, y'all. Like, comment, subscribe. I'm going to catch you on the next one, man. Peace.